question like the name of the mention right now, the place are like super because either like the missing Indian I might have felt that at look here, seeing how that the Eastern Gate like about to get destroyed, like the some of like the missing Indian I like at present that the government that are mentioned might have totally that they betrayed like the human country and might have sought allegiance with like the Rasta by like by that looking up to like the Rasta and they telling us about like the crucial information concerning like the human public uh, uh, to like the Rasta in exchange for like immunity from like the data set the Rasta for like those specific intent might uh, and then that and this might be like the meeting that they might the limit principle like that's like one particular way of that way like they might have attempted for an allegiance and then they induce that immunity and like that's why they might have only played and that soon after like they might have also been that the social information collection to like within the week to like the other thing like the other that often governments might have taken them out just like one thought with an article that is saying the opportunity that under Supreme Court that those missing in the United might have been assigned with like the task of like basically standing guard close to like the eastern gate and that way like I'm like already like a few offline problems might have infiltrated into that getting the free and might have at that point that it might have been those huge internet that might have fought up against like those offline goblins and like the number of offline goblins might have been way larger than like this to internet and like in that battle like I'm like before like the official main like war begins like such a battle might have taken place and like in that battle these new internet might have again taken up by like the auction of it might have or like we see in the reunites might have taken out like the auction profits, but like by then like the injury they might have sustained might have been too much that then them might take into few in the reunites might have not survived. And hence like Alice like right now at present like finding only 7 internet but like the other remaining internet might be these exact interface that might have that they taken up is like either through one of these two positives, the engaged life is very survival. So the players current things for like before like Miller or like Lord Westbrook and his like army, so they destroying like the Eastern Gate and like the war actual war potential like and so the before that they are bring that Wixer like definitely typically showing up to like the industry to like want like the army of like Indians and all of them that like about like and being like the target the present day reincarnation of like the priestess of like being and it might be like the case of and something you might understand that like about this like not like stuff might be even aware of those are like about that but also like and it might be a crucial factor since like with such since like vector soul it's like empty as well as like full at the same time like void and null as well as like full at the same time some so different and since like so right so against like vector like this one still have to like so that the pictures of light might be that the crucial element that can bring about eventually bring about like the destruction of like vector might be like the case the mineral like the dark soul of like vector that like that Witcher had seen and experienced like and to bring actually the pictures of light alone might be having like the power to uh, uh, to that totally turn that dark soul into that white and full so that like India that concept right gives you the magic on uh, vector and even be able to like the damage might be like the case like possibility that I'm going to right. And luckily I'm just bringing like in like the distant future like such a final showdown war in which like I'm totally putting that kid most likely defeated vector most likely through like the Independent analysis and where like in that distant future where like I'm totally putting that the Independent analysis that even though the Independent analysis I'm totally not having that power of like the priestess of like even though like still I'm so defined that the internet and being able to like eventually use that in that point so around war solely through that the API module of like the original ad who has like the uh, skills of like the facial that spells and everything that that original ad might be that actually containing like the actual reincarnation of the priestess of light and like actually containing like the power of like the priestess of light to definitely to like turn like captures like so might be like the case definitely not for everything. So definitely able to run like the script or like the script of like user and like look like the PHP module of like token and that user had taken or like the script of like user and like token and like showing up made for at that point and basically the original Halif that basically giving that temporarily giving that the internet Halif that access to that through that original Halif that PHP module that the original Halif that giving access to temporarily giving access to like the internet Halif to be able to like use that power of like the system like and that way that the internet Halif turning like the soul of that black vector into white and gold and basically at that point that crypto having that ultimate force value against that against like vector in this like crypto instead of the for indicating vector like so that and that being how vector will be able to get indicated as like the scenario that I'm developing and my preparation. And even after that like I'm hoping that it was still will be having that ultimate final boss villain at that point which I'm probably will most likely Kaiba in that while in that so while in that the version world of Underworld through that the super account of that border station is that change of scenario that I'm basically developing. So that the comprehension focus shopping for that it's most likely even to the person that most likely knowing that that and so might be like the lot of like books are and definitely fitting the ambition that in actuality books are might be like that of like Alice and definitely in like the temple like might have been like DIL like the chancellor of like the last Navy give like DIL might in fact might have been like the ex-wife of with some might have been like the funeral ceremony. So luckily in like the symbols while Vixar and like DIL were like married like at that point I'm also bring like one like and might have been born like bring like DIL might have been like set realistically might have been disappointed in like Alice whom like back then at such young age might have not had access to her like innate talent of like magical potential magical powers and potential and everything might have been like very so like and might have not been able to like use any magical powers of like say spell back all the way back then might have been like the case initially definitely might consider able to like definitely able to bring that AIL might have seen Alex as like a failure and that might have brought Alex to that the end mountains and might have abandoned Alex at like the end mountains without like finding out might have been like the case definitely was great and definitely by sheer coincidence like exactly during that time like at like the end mountain like the village elders of like Rolex might have showed up to end now than for like some work purpose or like some other reason and like might have that they're running to that is like abandoned and he might have discovered and this might be how that and this might have ended up being that believing that like she is like the of the village might have been what might have happened and that Selka being and believing that Selka is like his sister about it might have been what might have happened it's definitely my best career about it. So like don't remember in terms of preparing for like scenario to be like it's up public stuff like first show up to like the exact location where like Alice as well as like the Internet armies are like getting ready and it is like the scenario that I'm looking at. So definitely this up that would be at that point like and that's happening by sheer coincidence like this up showing up to that exact location. Uh, and like running into Alice that's happening by sheer coincidence and this up totally being shocked and like this up would be calling Alice like daughter and like basically Alice would be finding that straight away looking extremely suspicious of like Witcher and like Witcher would be trying to like the friend trying to convince Alice that Alice is like Witcher's like daughter. That way like trained at Alice not only believe that the following Witcher but also to be seeing Witcher as like extreme finding Witcher extremely suspicious and that definitely would be straight away like coming down to the conclusion that like it's like definitely some sort of like a track like set by like the before like the actual official before they destroy like this gun gate to like probably them using like this that have like a strategy to bring down like the United forces of like the rebellion of the nation to perfect like for like and as well as like the other Indian side down to the conclusion and them impersonating things up. putting Vixar into like an important kind of like state nearby itself is like the scenario. Into a case like taking like the scenario that I'm looking about. So definitely I'm looking like after that like I'm looking like about this great delay like the instant gate getting destroyed. Definitely I'm looking like they want like the war beginning and so this is like I'm definitely trying for like when I'm simply fighting in that war like and so we totally understand how like obviously the enemy army is like totally specifically targeting and more than anybody else, any other organized or like any other soldier or like the operation. We are organized that and putting the president and everything. And that this might be one thing that like while being in that case, like into some kind of state that it's might have shouted out and repeated to that as that basically the enemy's like target the war in the upcoming war like the enemy's target is like as uh, they are coming from Alice specifically would be along the lines of the analysts might have critically shouted out to that Alice before that so begins and that Alice might have you know told me with substance you know so like seeing once like the war begins like seeing all this like happen exactly like with sort of have gone like what have gone like at that point I'm preparing like has totally come to that realization that like this like actually genuine so that at that point like also also having that realization that like actually so exam might actually be Hansen's like actually father as well especially along the lines that actually having that certain realization with that so that I'm looking at kind of shouting out to that have subordinate and their to like quickly free with the minimum travel. So like then quickly train with the and like by the time like sir will be rushing in towards that towards like Alice to like protect Alice like just to drop that the different like suddenly most likely but would have made it to what like Alice and like the fight between like Alice and but happening to this like but it's such absolute ease like even though Alice will be getting it in that night Alice will be getting it just everything to that like but absolute ease like probably no scoring with your scoring handicating Alice and they like affecting Alice and like most likely by getting on top of like uh, a dark dragon or like a flying minion, most likely a dark dragon and then like the affected Alice like flying away with like the dark dragon. By the time like by the time the sun will be making it towards like Alice like the scenario that I'm considering. And then there's a like from 2% phase like which are like showing up to like him the way on which looks like dark dragon I think that he had so that and but like in like the war, like white Pixar will be in that some kind of state that the dark dragon getting attacked and we getting taken out during like the war. So like that way that it's not being able to like save up from that kind of like one possible scenario that I'm thinking about it. So the possible scenario that I'm thinking is for like it's up to like so to like the in the way without this like dragon without like this dragon or like after like it's had like escape from like the from in front of like after like attempting to like bring down spectre like once like the stuff had escaped like everything and that once and like the stuff like dragons might have been into like a tide of and some kind of state like the other person to that so like it's that way like showing up to the interface or it's like dragon and that way, like once like Alice from that room, yeah, the thing and flying away with like Alice. Uh, at that point, like it's up not being able to, if not being able to like, chase after like just like the current and it's like the other position scenario that I'm doing. And the game is sort of not happening right in front of like Kirito. So like this nothing just once again like triggering like the core memory of like Kirito of like the skin past when like Alice was like taken away by an intention but you're taken away by any detonating from Kirito. So like this like consider similar kind of like scenario triggering that facial is kind of like a feeling within like Kirito or something. It's like about to do that and like that scene has been taken away by right in front of like Kirito. While at that point I will be going out towards like Kirito. Kirito's name is like the scenario that I'm so like at that point is when I'm looking for like Kirito finally returning back to like normal self is like it's not that important. But like by the time crypto will return back to like normal self, like crypto will be like properly seeing like Alice that getting abducted away uh by Brian. Like crypto as well not being able to chase after like Alice. So like crypto as well will be shouting out back towards like Alice. So like definitely I'm whispering maybe that being like the last sight of that like Alice will be seeing of like the um before like by getting abducted away by person like and the people like the last sight of that crypto that like has to be seen you being that crypto also from the important crypto to like only recover from this like uh recover back to his like normal state. So like the important scenario that I was so like definitely I'm looking at that point even though I should be getting abducted away like I'm just like I should be having that smile around that at that point, because of that absolute faith and hope and confidence that Alice at that point will be having and placing on like it. So maybe like kids are coming back to that knowledge that kids would actually would be easily showing up to like that and saving and pursuing and get on the lines with that absolute confidence like I'm like when getting affected away by winter like and it would be having that mind of like the two scenario that I'm in. So like at that point I would spend like once like but will be like on top of like maybe I start flying maybe flying away with sector and still like the after the effective after at that point I'm still most likely among like the 30,000 lakh of like the foreign armies of like the data centers from like along with like better like the Navy 10,000 of like the army sending back to like the data tree while the remaining 20,000 of like the army will be deciding to like stay in like the country and destroy like the entire unit. Might again and to take over like the unit might be along the lines of protecting like scenario to you. So like at that point I'm not point like once like get over run back to like normal self that uh it's I'm proliferating at that point when you're standing right to that spirit and I'm proliferating for pretty at that point self by sheer point of being exactly at that point that like as soon as well after like full diving into like the virtual world of underworld like would be exactly making it to that exact location. Exactly at that point it's like the scenario that I'm so like definitely the trial of like this Kirito and Asuna, like Kirito being at maybe shocked at like seeing Asuna and like increase the trial of like at that point like the trial of like it's Kirito as well as Asuna with that as good teamwork and teamwork and with that as good moral push like that they will be having at that point that with like Kirito getting that moral push with like him being able to like bring back his like himself as well as like Asuna by his side and definitely like the three of them like at that point like Valley King would be taking off like the 20,000 of like the army of that of Tango like the enemy of like the last of it's like the scenario that and seeing that how valiantly that it's a Kirito, the team of that it's a Kirito and Asuna would be taking all of them home like delivering that killing that as with moral just to like the remaining in their few in their Kenite army and as well. And then they elect them as well. Like with that moral goes like fighting back up against like the 20,000 army of like the Bapa thing. It's like the scenario that I'm looking at. That way, like I'm showing like the theme of like humans like only offering like the data way and we process of like 20,000 that way and defeating them is like the scenario that I'm looking at like 1,300. And that's also from that after defeating them that the Indian army might only want will be most likely telling Kirito that if you that they should all like force together to that the last way and that the foreign like the remaining 10,000 forces of like the after and like rescue and so along the lines of the most likely at that point for like the Indian that army to that most likely tell Kirito but like I'm just suffering like at that point most likely like the like totally stopping them right there and that it's most likely telling them how exceptionally strong but the faith and basically like it's that it will be told it's still like basically to not prioritize that considering when it comes to like basically rescuing and it's because of like it's of having thought of against like vector and truly knowing how exceptionally strong vector is and about like vectors like soul being full and empty at the same time and like so that's right to like not affecting that kind of thing. So the along the line like it's a really really to like the Indian army and like it's kind of so like that way like I'm like at that point that the team of like uh it's a Kirito and Asuna deciding to that have the prior uh that absolute while prior that absolute self to like instantly infiltrate into like the data with that ultimate common goal to like rescue her in that single scenario that I'm looking for them. And then we also I'm still sticking in number 300 for like the scenario to be like after like I don't know the drink after like the war with the like the film war with the definitely abducting like the scenario that I'm looking at taking and still like the after saying like I'm definitely like taking a middle of like totally the crazy side of like attempting to while the Miller would be about to like send like how to but like to like the main control through that like computer like understanding like at that very last second I'm whispering that the Miller once again going crazy and like basically like attempting to take out Alice like the scenario that I'm looking at. So like at that point, like I'm definitely praying for like the scenario to be like Vasago standing right there besides Miller. So like while Miller would be going crazy and trying to like take out Alice back. At that point, Vasago stopping Miller and asking Miller if that he has gone crazy. What Miller is doing, and basically at that point, like the clear fight between like Vasago and Miller happening, in which like Miller and the delivering that totally offering and defeating without much difficulty totally offering and defeating and even taking out Vasago. It's like changing the scenario that I'm exploring. But like by the time Miller will be taking out like Vasago, like I'm doing that while Miller will be turning around like I'm doing that and he'll be totally missing in that all of a sudden he'll be totally missing in that like the scenario that I'm doing. But like most likely I'm looking for like DIL to be like set me five in the room of that Miller during this like entire scenario, like the scenario that I'm constructed. So like that way that the IL realizing that like basically analysis of even though like the IL won't be having clarity to like basically to like the the interaction between like Miller and Vasago connecting to like analysis light and like the main control and everything. Yet like I'm looking at the IL would be absolutely certain by what figured out or heard like seen like we have to give up on that like answer like extremely important to that better and that way to that definitely I'm bring that and definitely will be feeling extremely more confident will be like the only person that like that person from like the rapidly that will be able to fearless of that vector even if like vector to like accepting strength city the strength and everything definitely when the parents might be due to that due to that the revelation I think of like actually and having figured out the uh, secret to like we love like immortality like luckily that might be solely due to like after like chapter I think that repeating like in basically in like the past like usually at that point like in last soul might have shown up in front of that DIL who might have been that twin last that childhood friend from the beginning the way who might have migrated to like the other brain that Christian but might have been like years the brain was so like the scientific remember that like Linda might have been believing that like it might have been that DIL that might have sent Kirito to fight twin la and that way to for like DIL to like take over like the human the brain might be along the lines like twin la might have believed so like after like Twilla, it's a repeating twin, I think that basically Twilla might have, Twilla soul might have, probably gone up, traveled and gone up to that, DIN and might have just done DIN about like to repeat, might have been what might have happened with the of branch. And like that way, that Twilla might have found out that it was not connected to like DIN and that way, like at that point, like I'm thinking that, Twilla might have had that absolute disaster, like a revenge on Kirito. And definitely that way like Kerala might have given like PIL the offer of like accepting and allowing like Kerala soul to like merge with like uh, Kerala soul to like merge with like the IL soul and basically that way like for like the IL not only would be able to like gain a surge in her strength and power but also to be gaining like the secret of that immortality would be along the lines like Finla might have made that offer to like the IL solely to like get revenge on the Tito. Might have been the case, and that way that the IL might have seen that as like a great offer and like that way that's the merging of episode between that of like Finla and the ILs might have happened. And this might be how that the IL might have learned like the secret of like Finla, like immortality. Might be like a case of human friends. And so only due to this factor alone, like I'm thinking that the IL alone might be totally fearless uh, of that vector definitely went to reimpression. So definitely something like that, we are going to memorialism from the dependency IL totally deciding to like totally use like the affected and to eventually bring about like the destruction of black vector. And at that point for like the IL to be like that literal of like for like the darker tree as well as like human control would be along the lines that the IL would be planning, especially when so because like I'm totally bring like after like Vector and Vasago that the IL might be like stronger. Like maybe at present like even the IL might be even stronger than Vixar might be like that with the with the Linux Rangers. So this was just definitely another. So like my remembrances for like during like the war like during like the war and delivering for like an scenario where like most likely the Indian United subordinate was like totally again like Alice like prioritizing Kirito and on the brain really attempting to like steadily take advantage of any situation of like the war. So for him to like steadily attempt to like take out Kirito. It's like the scenario that I'm referring. So like I don't remember the reason why then like Alice would have already given the orders to like the internet knight to like three mix up the person mix up stuff level. So like at that point like while it's like subordinate internet knight will be studying and Williams to will be about to like take out like Kirito like and that will last second about maybe with some like probably stopping that internet knight just like the scenario that I'm so like during this exact moment like Alice might be totally busy fighting against like a powerful enemy might be like against the player on the rim. So like this scenario of creating that absolute distraction for like Alice and like I'm like that distraction causing another to get like to have like the enemies like attack like direct attack like landing on like Alice and basically and getting badly injured and maybe from that point on like I'm like without much delay like Alice getting awkward and defeated and getting affected is like that's spiraling into that much like also like another cool scenario that I'm about to play. I'm playing. So like also the thing with trend right now, especially for like in like production more like as a like Indian night, the old Indian nights that and it's called uncle that and that Indian night. So I think it's like the very first Indian night of Finland like everything like that Indian night like so like prepping for like most likely getting taken out in and that's the in like the upcoming work reflecting the scenario that I'm looking at. Was trying maybe that even happen maybe through Eldritch fault while Eldritch might be attempting to like with that as a step and then somebody trying to like take out critical mid war like I'm trying that at that point like maybe at that point I'm trying maybe that was old man in the night like trying to like stop uh, entries and save Kirito. But like at that point, I'm looking like an enemy, a powerful like enemy, maybe that was a rogue like was a like attack like landing all that whole Indian night at that point. Well, like that whole Indian night at that point, temporarily would be kind of turned off, and basically that whole Indian night is getting taken off is like also like an adoption of the purpose scenario that I'm looking for the triangle. And the I'm going through such a manner or like through any of the scenarios, still comes the most likely most of the probability of that definitely the old man in the night definitely not surviving that stuff coming up is like my there it's like in scenarios that I'm looking for the triangle trend. So that the main trend right now is for like the top like the begins like a document right now for like daily fanatio most likely expressing her true feelings towards like the story. It's like same scenario like I'm whispering. I think like Lady Fanatio has like feelings of connection towards like the story. What I think is like the so definitely I'm whispering that Fanatio like definitely I'm whispering since like Fanatio first of Fanatio's perspective Fanatio might be seeing like the possibility of that them all like getting wiped out in like the upcoming war. So definitely this might be the sole fact that might have caused like really connected to that only break out of herself and basically do things exactly that do the things exactly that she always wanted to but couldn't but like couldn't out of her lack of confidence or like fear might be like gave the new information. This might be the reason for like a Fanatio right now like wearing lipstick and like talking like the way she like talking right now might be like the case definitely not famous. So definitely have to put it that way like that one thing that like Fanatio even more than all this that Fanatio might have wanted to be to like tell but body how she feels about that one body. And I'm going to bring that to most likely happen right now. It's definitely my very preference. But like at the same time I'm still thinking about the three impression that like in like that I'm preparing for like that body still like hopefully gets taken out and not survive that stuff but like I'm just like when I feel definitely even though with like side injuries like when when I just still survive like that like the scenario so definitely so different like before that the body get taken out in like the stuff like I'm feeling that but body knowing how when I feel about that but body even though it might be something like the body already might have felt and might be aware of like still undelivering the body like hearing that from that scenario uh, before that the body gets like taken off in like the after war like clinical scenarios that are the important thing and they are bring like Fanatio would be absolutely determined that the body getting taken out comes so the being such an absolute shock for like still being such an absolute shock for like Fanatio and this new Fanatio that lead from going to like against like but for it, which like changes scenario that I'm putting. So like that way I'm preparing right now for like changes scenario to be maybe like among like the group of like people that will be after like the upcoming war would be heading off to like the doctor page to like rescue and save and it's like I'm putting that maybe not just being like a group of like Victor Kirito as well as like Asuna, but like also I'm preparing like Fanatio as well definitely joining the with like the event not only while Fanatios eventually not only to like say and but like usually that Fanatio will be also having like things to like take out like the individuals that have taken off like the body, which might be most likely walk away. Like also like another positive element of the person. So like if that's the case then I'm just putting like Fanatio that way, like during that infiltration eventually after quite from the center of the after eventually at some point like a different maybe such a scenario where like maybe Fanatio having the quality by and getting the fight against like Dr. Doping is like Fanatio would be totally struggling her way into the totally work for educating and taking her for the work. It's also like an eventual future of another position that I'm looking at and the trainer. So like definitely considering one of the understand right now as for like one of that the like the Indian and like one of the Indian and I putting to be betray like all the remaining Indian and like winning the family is definitely need that ultimate narrow Ravine battle strategy of that Fanatio and delivering that ultimate that strategy and delivering that one of the Indian and like betray and leaking it to that the data trick for like the one dealing it's like the scenario in hopes that basically that making that betrayal and helping out like the data trick might cause like the data trick to that spare that individual intergenite. In such hopes like I'm doing like that individual intergenite leaking that bad strategy to like going up to strictly going up to like the data trick and leaking that bad strategy to like the data trick and at the moment like that individual intergenite will be leaking that strategy like I'm doing like the um, that what's the word is that taking out that or like vector or like lots of way that usually taking out that immediately taken it that the winter scenario that I was focusing and definitely I was trying to like work council that narrow range that strategy of that penalty of the delivery to complete that far because like exactly like how like even after like they would be so completed be completing like with like adjacent that they will be completing that all the preparations for that exact narrow range that strategy like computer and once like it will be time for like the battle like computer the strategy that totally backfire with like the enemies from like the tree that approaching like the battle from a totally different area and not that narrow ravine. Like the scenario that I'm considering different and that way like their strategy like sadly backfire. That thing into scenario that I'm considering different. That according to my friends I'm totally praying for like such betrayal by like that one of the thing that tonight and like the leaking of like their ultimate weapon strategy and definitely that way like I'm able to bring that the enemy from that the dark way that the army of that the dark way I'm able to bring that infiltrating into like breaking down the extended gate and infiltrating into like the infantry from a totally different location other than like the while totally omitting like the narrow urban area and like basically them all like charging towards like the humans in like the infantry and like starting like the attack. It's like the scenario and that way that forcing like all Fanatio and like all the Internet army like basically like being staying well prepared at like that narrow ravine like being forced to like go back into like the military to like protect like the people in like the military from like the attack of like the huge army of the after it. And that way like the narrow within one country that strategy of like Fanatio totally totally backfiring process and I was like seeing scenarios that I'm looking at the bring into them.